Hello everyone, Neb here, Tech Motorsports, and I'm putting this clip in front of this video. The day that I did all this work, it was a full day, and as I went to start editing and pretty much got done with the clip, I realized I need to cut it somewhere because it was going to end up being too long. So I started it from here, enjoy the rest of the clip. Pick it up from the last video. So at this point now, now that the hub sprocket's been installed back on the crankshaft, now it should be smooth sailing, or we're hoping it's going to be smooth sailing. So what I've already done is I already installed the tensioner for the oil pump already right here. And what I also did is I cleaned up the little bit of RTV that was here on the head gasket areas. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more here and on top to give it another additional seal, since technically this was assembled with it on. So I'll go ahead and get that. That way we get a little bit of seal. I may get a little bit of an oil leak in this area, but it will be fine. It's something that as long as it's not pouring out, but a little seepage, it's not too bad. I mean, what race motor doesn't seep, oil? But and I mean seep like very small. Talk about these, but yeah. So I'm gonna get. I got the new gaskets going in, so I'll get that done and in place, and then I gotta turn it over, and then well, actually I gotta check, make sure everything on the cylinder head is good. I do have the valve cover just placed up, and I'll start to get the oil pump installed, and I will go through and recheck the torques, the torque on the. Since they are P-bolts, I will check on the rod bearings and the crankshaft itself. So let's keep going. Okay, so I got a bolt to help me hold the gasket here, and the same thing with the bottom, except for it just doesn't want to stay in. But that will. There you go. So. Okay, so before I get even further along, I just wanted to do this. I already had installed the thermostat, housing. I put that back on since I took it off just a little bit ago. I just wanted to get that done. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set everything up right here on the harmonic balance, the actual guide pin, and then I'll grab my lock pin and I'll insert it, and then I'll see where I'm at all with timing. So. So the motor, the timing is off, TDC on the crank itself. When I first started, I put my locking pins on the camshafts, and by removing the hub itself off the crank, it shouldn't have moved. Now, it could have, but right now, unfortunately, I got to take all this back off again, and got to rotate it so I can put my timing pin right through this hole right here. So I'm gonna get to that, and yay. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to rotate this one tooth to the intake side, and I'm gonna rotate the crank. I already got bolts on the back end of the crank, and I'm just gonna put a pry bar in and slowly turn it, and I should be able to align the holes up at that point. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it up real quick, put everything together without sealing everything, and then I'm going to see if my timing is correct. So, okay, so had to step away, and it was getting a little frustrating trying to get it to work without having to take the whole Vanos thing apart. But sometimes got to be a little frustrated, but finally got it. My locking pin's in place. I want to say it was about two teeth off on the crank itself. I just don't see this. I just don't see that the crank would have moved that much while me trying to take that hub off. Even though it was hard to get off, the chain was still intact when I finally got the hub off. So Yeah, so I'm thinking it was timed incorrectly. So right now, pins are in, TDC and TDC, so we should be good to go. And so yeah, let's keep moving forward, and now I will have to take everything back off again, and then go in and put my my gaskets and all that stuff. And so yeah, now that I got my timing ports in place. So all right, so got the cover off. So what I'm gonna do is repeat what I did earlier and put my little sealant and my RTV in those certain areas, put the cover on, get all that done, put the torque seal in place, get the 2 bolts, put the thermostat housing back on. So I'll go ahead and get that done. Alright, so she's all back together, so I got the cover on, the thermostat housing back on. So where I wanted to be the other day, now I can start finalizing and start installing the oil pump, and I will check the torque on the rod bearings and the main bearings, as I stated before. So let's keep getting to it. Okay, so engine's turned up. The front cap, main cap for the crank was loosened, so they can mess with the broken bolt that was in there. So just took the nuts off in the washers and putting on some lube, and I'll be torquing these 2 down and then going through the rest of them just to be sure. Okay, so for the main cap bearing, for the main bearing caps, the bolts or the nuts are torqued to 60 foot-pounds with 3 equal steps up to 60. So it'll be 20, 40, 60. So I'm going to go through and just make sure that all the rest of the main caps are at 60, and then I'm also going to end up doing is the rod bearings, making sure they're at 50 foot-pounds. Alright, so now I will do the rod bolts at 50. Alright! Okay, so, sweet, she's all back, well, she's all torqued. I feel confident now, so everything is good. Nothing out of the ordinary. So I'm gonna just keep moving forward. All right, so the plan is now I'm gonna remove the engine off the stand so that I can install the back section of the seal and the seal plate. So I'll get that done. That way I can go ahead and finish installing the oil pump, and then put the oil pan back on. So let's keep trucking. All right, so got my engine hoist ready, and got it chained up. I'm keeping it with the cylinder head facing downward, and so what I'm going to end up doing is just removing my engine cylinder out of the way while it sits in the suspended in the air with a hoist, and just going to install the rear main seal. Well, I'm trying to put the pump and the tubes and the brackets to hold those in place are not in the right spot. So I gotta release these 2 here, these 2 main bearing caps, and rotate the brackets around. So let me get that going. Okay. Went ahead and swapped these around and retorqued the main cap. So back to installing the oil pump for the second time. All right, got my oil pump in, got it bolted down. Also on the tubes itself, the pickup tubes, those are all tightened down. So I got my safety wire here. This is the nut. I'm going to throw a Loctite on it as well, and it is reverse thread, so I'll go ahead and get that tidied up and tightened and secured. And then I'll go do one more look over, make sure everything's good, and now install the oil pan. Just so you know, it took me 3 tries to get this to get the safety wire correctly. And what it is I was just, because when you spin it, sometimes you pull on that thing and it spins it, and sometimes I went too much and it would break off, so I would have to start all over again. But finally got her in, like I stated, Loctite as well. So now install the oil pan. Okay, so I've got the a little bead of RTV on the corners where the front timing cover, and then the rear one as well, right across. So I got a bead of RTV. So ready for the oil pan. Okay, so everything turned out fine. TDC. I was able to put the cam lockers in place, so we should be good. They awesome. Okay, so torquing time. So I got my front seal already installed. These will get torqued to 50 Newton meters, then 50 degrees one time, and then 50 degrees again for the second time. I'm going to end up using my pin to do my 50 degrees. My torque angle, I will have, I got 2 bolts already attached to the flywheel, like I did before when I was trying to get it timed, TDC. And then I have a pry bar in place on those bolts, so that way the pressure will be on back there on some separate bolts. I don't care about those bolts. And then I don't have to do, or have to worry about my TDC pin here on the front flywheel. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going. All right, second 50 degrees. So I went ahead and I did take my pin out for the second one, and I do have a crowbar or a pry bar in the back on 2 bolts on the back of the flywheel. Ladies and gentlemen, she's torqued. So just gonna finalize everything. Pretty much get ready to drop it in the car. Okay, so I did forget to mention earlier. Well, I'm gonna remove the headers back off. There is a broken bolt in there, and one is completely missing, or the stud is, so it's not even attached. They do have 3 bolts per cylinder, so in all honesty, it probably wouldn't make much of a difference, but let's just make sure we do it right. So I'm going to go ahead and take it off, put a new stud on, or a pre-owned one. I do have a spare head. I'm going to go ahead and I'll just get that done, and I'll do it just real quick. And then, as I stated, just going to try to finalize everything up front, and she's ready to go in. All right, so here comes the even longer time to take off. You only have so much room for the nut, and you can only move so far, so it's gonna take a while, but yeah, we'll just keep knocking her out. All right, so got the headers off, and bring you a little bit closer, Look at that. All right. So so yeah, so some of these stick out pretty far, and I'm going to end up getting them down if I can even more. I know some, depending on the length of the actual stud itself. But there's the broken jewel, and I will try to clean this up. This one right here is going to be a pain in the butt. This one was left out, and I know why it was probably left out. It is going to be super tough to try to get the nut or the stud in there because of the way the header comes down. There's barely any room right here in this spot. So I'm going to try to do the best I can to get all the bolts in there. So, all right, so I tried taking the stud out and just trying to see if I can get some vice grips on it. It's on there really really tight. So I'm going to have to go to do the same thing I did with the crank bolt, which is do a step up drill. The only thing is I don't have a reverse drill bit for that size, so I'll have to come up with something else. I have a couple other extractors. I've used them before. They don't work too well, but at this point, that's what I'm going to end up doing. I'm going to step them up and start with a small drill bit and work my way up and until I'm able to get something. It is on there tight, super tight, to where even a reverse drill bit I don't think would be able to pull it out because it's on there really tight. So let me just get to it. Okay, stepped it up to 2 sizes up now. All right, small little update. It's a pain in the butt, or I'll say it's a pain in the ass to get out. It's really stuck on there. I've tried to use my extractor. It looks like it's going to end up breaking off, and I really just can't. To have that breaking off and then having to remove 2 items is just it's going backwards. So I'm trying something different. I'm going to try to drill it further out. So what I got is my drill bit here, and I put a little bit of black tape so that I know I won't go into the cylinder head. So just to see if I can have be able to take most of, just go through and figure out a different way, and yeah, so it's not as easy as I was hoping it would have been. Well, what I was afraid was going to happen happened, but luckily it broke a little bit further down on the end of the tip, not inside. But this has really been a pain in the butt. I'm going to keep moving forward. Got to get it out now. Well, I'm a little sad. No matter what I did, I could not get it completely out. I went through my extractor, broke, and then I shaved it down just to try to get it to bite more, and it just wasn't given. And so what I ended up doing is I had a little bit of meat left. Actually, that was the stud itself. So what I ended up doing is I drilled and tapped that out to a 10 mil. So I'm going to install a 10 mil bolt in there. I didn't want to go bigger because then I'll have to drill the head, the actual header. I didn't want to have to do that. Figured a little bit smaller. I mean, at this point, it's better than not having one. And what I'm probably going to end up doing is at one point we'll probably have to go, we'll probably have to refresh the motor down the road, and I'm going to order a new a special tap for the studs, because this is technically the head of the nut is an 11 millimeter, so the threads are different, so it's in between. So I don't have that in my kit, tap and die set. So I will, like I stated, a bolt is better than no bolt. Sorry, EW. Well, that's all of the easy ones. Time to use the old trusty wrench now. Okay, so got the header all back together. Everything is nice and tight. The 10 mil that I put on there held up pretty well as well. That's what I was kind of worried about, if it would get tight enough, but it did. So that is something that I will take care of down the road. Once we have the engine back out, I will try to get that resolved. I'm going to go ahead and try to find a tap for that thread size, so I'll go ahead and get that done. So when it is out, I'll be able to take care of it and do a better job. But if I can't get it done correctly, a 10 mil will be better than a 12 mil or a 13 mil, because there is no room for a bigger nut or a bigger bolt in there. So that's what we got to do. But now go ahead and install the motor mounts on both sides and 2 sensors that I got on the other one, and maybe a couple little items up front, and drop the engine in the car. So super stoked. All right, so here we have the engine off the stand, and now it's on my engine hoist. And yeah, pretty much I got all the accessories that I need to get on while the engine is out, and then the rest of it will be installed as the engine is in. Next step is installing the flywheel and the clutch system. I know I'm the type that when I see an engine and it's going to go in something, I'm always curious, what is it going into? Is it normal? Is it not normal? Let's take a peek. So here's the gem, 95 M3, and yeah, pretty excited. Glad to be throwing the engine in. So awesome. So let's keep going. I think she's ready to be dropped in. So let's get to it. She's in. All right, so now I'm just going to secure the engine with the motor mounts, so that way I can, I'll grab my, oh yeah, I'll raise it up so I can start installing a transmission and get that going. So one thing I did have to end up getting was a starter. Of course, you know, on the last car, starter, cylinder 5, exited the side of the block, and of course took the starter out. I had a big, huge ding in it in the armature, so had to replace it. I already got it here. So yeah, that I'll keep plugging away. All right, so I have been a little busy off camera. So what I end up doing is finalizing the whole underneath of the car. So the transmission is installed, the shift linkages attached, the clutch slave is installed, the whole exhaust system, which was a one-piece exhaust system. What a pain in the butt. Now that I've tidied up everything, and anything that needed to be connected is connected, anything that needed to be clamped has been clamped. So the next step is to install the intake. But I will not be installing the OEM intake. I have a surprise. I'll be installing this instead. Carbonius CSO intake. These things are just, they're beautiful. So so yeah, so this is going to go in and with an S54 and an E36 chassis. So excited. Unfortunately, I am going to do a separate video on this install for the complete install. So keep a lookout for that install down the road. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this segment of the video off. I will pick up when the intake is installed to finalize everything on this whole install. So like always, like and subscribe, and hope to see you in the next video, guys.